Good morning, my friends. Kurt Berglund here with Batter Up Baseball, the best game you may never have heard of. It lasted for a very short time. I think 3 seasons in the mid to late 70s. But there's a couple of things about it that I think are really important to know about. And I think a reboot of this game would be very, very interesting for those of us that love baseball cards and dice simulations. First of all, I want to say that Batter Up Baseball, I want to kind of put it in a time frame for you. Batter Up, of course, developed in, I'm guessing, the mid-70s. I don't know a lot about the history of the game. Maybe somebody does and can add some detail in the comments to this video. But it's easy to see that Batter Up Baseball was influenced by not only APBA, but also classic replay classic baseball. And it's also easy to see, for that matter, that Batter Up influenced either directly or indirectly the development of games like Inside Pitch, Fall Classic Baseball, and Payoff Pitch Baseball. And the reason for this is that Batter Up, I think, at least that I have found, is the oldest game that has a pitcher first system. That is to say, you roll first in both the basic and the advanced game and consult the pitcher card. And well, I guess Sports Illustrated's Superstar Baseball would be a little bit before Batter Up, but regardless, it has a pitcher first system, and if your at bat is not resolved on the pitcher card, then you roll again on the batter card and look for your outcome from that point. What I want to do today is to show you the advanced elements to the game, and then in a later video I'm going to do a full-blown 9-inning demo if you're interested. If this is just too old, then tell me that, and I won't waste your time or mine with a full-blown video of a 9-inning game. I do want to say that the game can be found. I have found it on different auction sites, and it's a lot of fun. I recommend it. It was way ahead of its time in terms of the understanding of the game of baseball, but also the pieces of the game that it simulates really well. It was way ahead of its time on ballpark effects and even on lefty-righty splits, where somebody was finding data to find even players that had reverse splits, which of course isn't that noteworthy maybe today, but in the mid-70s, pretty impressive piece of research to be able to find that and then build it into a baseball cards and dice simulation. So I'm impressed not only with the game engine, but also with the level of research that it took to implement the statistics that were available at the time into the game engine. So let's take a look at the advanced game. If you've not already seen my previous video on Batter Up, I would encourage you to take a look at that. People that understand math much better than I do might even be interested in doing some reverse engineering of the way the cards are set up, because the game is, I mean, let's face it, it's 45 years old, but it has aged remarkably well in terms of its applicability, there's the word, to the game of baseball. All right, so I want to start by reviewing what the game cards look like, and then we'll get into the advanced rules for the game. Here we go. If you were not with me for my first video on batter up baseball, this is what the cards look like. So the pitching cards are always in red. The batter cards are always in green. At least they were for the 1977 season. The stats are listed for each player at the bottom of the card. And in that other video, I go over at length kind of what each element of the card is designed to do. But for the purposes of what we're doing here today, the first roll applies to the pitcher card. So in this case, if the Twins were playing the White Sox, the first thing that we would do is to roll these rather odd-looking dice. This is a 3-outcome die. It has 20, 10, and then 0. And then you add the two ones dice together, and you get an outcome between 1 and 30. So what happens is you roll your dice, and in this case, the outcome would be a 24, 25. I can add. Remember, my friends, there are three kinds of people in the world: those that can do math and those that cannot. We have 25 as our outcome, so we look here on Dave Goltz's card, and we have no result. So in that case, we would roll again on Ralph Gar's card, and we get a 16, which is a 26. So what we would do then is to look at the chart for bases empty, which would be right here, bases empty. And we look at 26, and the 26 would be a ground out 6-3. So already we can see that there's an APA element here. There is of course, if there's APA, that means that replay baseball is also able to be seen here. We can see that the roll here for the first outcome being empty reminds me of inside pitch. And then rolling for the batter outcome on the second roll is an inside pitch. It's got that fall classic. This also has a fall classic feel to it too, doesn't it? And then payoff pitch as well, with the second roll being off of the batter's card. So there's elements here. I'm not saying anybody broke copyrights. I'm not saying that internet guy put the gun down. But what I am saying is that it's easy to see in the family tree of baseball sims, it's easy to see that the batter up made an impact other places. All right. So with that as the basic game engine, let's look at the advanced rules. One of the advanced game elements that I think was way ahead of its time is ballpark effects. This is listed here as an optional rule, but each ballpark has a letter grade from A to D. Now, what this tells us, I think, from what I've been able to glean from this, is that those ballparks with A letter grades were sort of neutral ballparks in the time frame that the game was created. So the neutral parks would include Riverfront Stadium and Dodger Stadium. Now, if you have a B letter grade, and the codes are defined here down below, it says this rule applies to visiting batters only when playing in parks with this code, when action numbers 2 or 4 result on visiting batter cards. And I think I'll give you an example of what that would look like here. Here it is. Here's Ralph Garr. Ralph Garr has a couple of twos here on his card. When that happens, the results are converted to action numbers 39 or 37 respectively, only when facing the home team's like-arm pitcher. For example, if a visiting right-handed pitcher is facing the home team's right-handed batter, and as a result of rolling the dice on action number 4 appears on the battered card, instead of the result being a home run, on the play result board, action number 37, fly or line out to left, is used. If the visiting right-handed pitcher is facing a left-handed visiting right-handed hitter is facing a left-handed pitcher, then no change would occur. If a left-handed hitter is facing a left-handed pitcher, action number 2 is converted to action number 39. So these become flyouts if the batter does not have a platoon advantage for letter B, for visiting batters only. So it does two things here that I think are interesting. First thing it does is it recognizes a platoon advantage. The second, thank you very much. And the second thing that it does that I think is interesting is that it gives a home field advantage. So it builds two things in this system that I think is very interesting. Now, if we come back to a letter C grade, Atlanta Fulton County Stadium, for example, in Atlanta, this rule applies to visiting pitchers only. When playing in parks with this code, eliminate the use of HRP numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4 for all visiting pitchers. What this does, HRP numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4 cut off power. So if you are a pitcher who allows just a few home runs, you might get an HRP number of 1, 2, 3, or 4 and reduce the hitter's chances of hitting a home run. But in these parks with letter grade C, visiting pitchers don't reduce the home runs by the home team batters. It would seem that the C parks are your cozier parks. The only one that I would be a little bit surprised at is Municipal Stadium was not a hitter's park, but it got a C grade anyway. All right. If you are a letter D ballpark, Fenway Park in Boston is the only letter D ballpark in this set. You eliminate using HRP numbers for all 3 and 4 for all visiting pitchers. And if you are a letter E ballpark and there's only one of those, and that's Yankee Stadium, you eliminate using HRP numbers 1 and 2 for all opposing pitchers. So these apply to certain types of hitters. This would be for the left-handed batters, and this would be for the right-handed. No, I'm sorry, reverse that. This would be for the right-handed batters, and this would be for the left-handed batters. So this is a early ballpark effects chart for batter up baseball. All right, then the other thing I'm going to show you is the way that lefty-righty splits are handled in this game. And this was also, I think, something that was ahead of its time. The lefty-righty factor is what it's called. So we have the situation here. We have the pitcher column. We have the batter column. We have a left-handed pitcher and a left-handed batter. When this condition exists, convert action 11 to action 28. Well, what does that mean? Well, let's look. So with nobody on, action 11, base is empty. Action 11, a ground single to right, becomes a flyout to center. Okay. So if there's a lefty-lefty platoon advantage for the pitcher, the single becomes a flyout. Now, this rule does not apply for the following left-handed batters in the American League: Brett, Carew, Gar, Bostock, and Rivers. This was 77 was Mickey Rivers' career year. In the National League, it would be Parker, Morgan, and Griffey. So these players ignore the lefty-lefty platoon advantage built-in modification. Notice, though, that they're individually named. So the statistics must have been looked up for these players and determined in 1976, after the 77 season, in time for the release of this set, somewhere they found the lefty-righty splits and determined these batters did not get bothered by left-handed pitching. All right, the reverse situation. We have a right-handed pitcher and a left-handed batter. We convert action 25 or 22 to action 11 on the batter's card only. The exception would be the players listed above. All right, so what does that mean? Well, 25, again, we're just looking at the bases empty for purposes of what we're doing here. 25 is down here. It's a ground out to third. And the other number is 22. 22 is a ground out pitcher, first base to pitcher covering. Both of these outcomes get turned into a single to right. So we have the batter getting the platoon advantage and the hitter getting a single as a result. Now we have the righty-righty matchup. We convert action 10 to 28 for all right-handed batters who hit under 300. So we have a new category here. Number 10 to 28. So 10 is a line single to right. It becomes a fly out to center. For all right-handed batters who hit under 300. Of course, that would be an aggregate outcome, because we don't have lefty-righty split data here. So you're just going off of the aggregate average that they have against both lefties and righties. If they're under 300, they're not going to respond well to the righty-righty matchup, and so they're going to fly out instead of getting the single. Ignore the second L on Alan Bannister. I know it's misspelled, but I didn't do it. Okay, next is when the hitter, the right-handed batter, has the platoon advantage. Lefty pitcher, righty hitter. We convert 22 or 23 to number 12 for all right-handed batters who hit under 300 to the batter's card only. I should have mentioned that up here too. All right, so 22 or 23, we have a ground out. I'm sorry, not looking at the same chart. 22 is a ground out first to pitcher. 23 is just a ground out to first unassisted. That changes to number 12. Number 12 is a single to center. All right. Now, notice we don't use the lefty-righty factor for switch hitters. So it's a little bit, I don't know, it's a little bit primitive, but I'm impressed with the level of research it took to be able to put this together after the 1977 season. All right, there's one more thing I want to show you here. On the optional rules or the advanced rules, you have the option to play the outfield in batter up baseball. So it says the defensive manager may exercise an option to play his outfield unusually shallow to attempt to cut down the winning run, provided there is a runner on third, less than 2 out, score tied, home team batting in the 9th or extra innings. How many Sims in 1977 were offering this as an option. I'll tell you who wasn't doing it as an option. Stratomatic wasn't. APA wasn't. Sports Illustrated Baseball wasn't. Sherco was. And I'm pretty sure Sherco, the first version of Sherco was around in 77. In fact, I know it was. But I'm not sure when Sherco started, 74 or 5 maybe? I'm not sure, but you could with that, but not, I mean, the big companies weren't offering this as an option, but Batter Up was. And there's a consequence offensively for doing it, and it's described here. The second thing is holding the runner on first. Now, some of the sims that were available back then were doing this. You could do this. And, of course, Strat was one of them. But this is a pretty sophisticated system here of setting up consequences for holding the runner on. Now, you can, I don't know, I'm very impressed with this. This is mid to late 70s, and you've got 2 optional rules that are showing a pretty serious degree of sophistication and a recognition of what happens to player batting averages when you choose that option. Way ahead of its time, in my opinion. So a pretty impressive game. We will do a demo on my channel, but this is going to close out the advanced version look at Batter Up Baseball. Want to thank you for being with me. I'm Kurt Berglund. Please don't forget to click like and subscribe to my channel. I need your support to keep my channel going, my friends, and I do appreciate it very much. Have a wonderful day, and come on back for more Batter Up Baseball. So long, everybody.